Welcome back. Let's go to Adamawa State now. We saw this story yesterday evening and it made everyone so upset. This is a fuel tanker at the MRS filling station along Numan Road opposite the Jesco filling station near the Yola International Airport, and was engulfed in flames yesterday. At the time, the road that was leading into Yola was blocked. Many residents, and as you can see, despite the ads, we have so many ads we've done explaining to people, when you see a fire, don't go near it. Well, you see a lot of people running there to see how the fire is going, apparently. I don't know what it is that they're looking for, but very curious as to what's going on. But the inferno actually engulfed 2 fuel tankers, and men of the fire service who arrived at the scene were battling to contain the fire at the time. I think one of the biggest problems really was this crowd that we saw. And looking at this crowd, we wonder, all the ads that we've been doing, all the messages from NNPC, PETROAN, the NOA, everyone has been telling people, when you see a fire, don't go near it. What seems to be the problem? What seems to be the problem? There's so many areas where things have gone wrong in this particular situation. This is the one that just happened yesterday in Adamawa. Not too long ago, we had one in Enugu. We had one in Enugu as well. Tankers with fuel exploding and putting the lives of people, destroying a lot of property, putting all of this in danger. We had Enugu not too long ago. We had Niger State not too long ago. And then we had the terrible one that happened in Jigawa. Is it the road? Is it the tanker? Is it the driver? Is it the tire of the tanker? What is the problem? How are these accidents happening over and over again? We keep looking at it as though it's such a terrible disaster. Oh, people do the right thing. But what's going on? Is this the situation in other parts of the world? Is this how tankers keep catching fire and people keep getting hurt? Is this the reality? Or is there something that we are not doing? We're seeing visuals there of previous tanker fires and wondering what's really going on. Whatever needs to happen to ensure that people are a bit more careful, to ensure that these tankers stop these explosions, because I don't understand, is it the road? Is it the driver? Is it the car itself? What is the problem? Is it the product? Should we find other ways of shipping products? What's the issue? We're seeing that one from Jigawa. That one from Jigawa was actually particularly heinous because of how many people died as a result. And we've seen it continue from state to state. Jigawa, Niger multiple times, then Enugu, and now Adamawa. And watching those people, and Anambra as well. So watching these things continue to happen tells us that there is something not being done. And that thing that is not being done is costing the lives of Nigerians. Whatever has to be done needs to be done quickly. And for the people who are watching this right now, it was so scary when we saw those people rush out towards in Adamawa State there. Let's not put our lives in danger. We have put the information out there. The NOA has done a special ad for you. It's everywhere. It's in all languages. Pamphlets are everywhere. Everyone is talking about how you shouldn't be rushing towards fire. The local authorities have also been engaged. The religious leaders have also been engaged in this. Maybe more engagement, maybe more communication to ensure that this message actually goes down to people. When you see a fire, stop running towards it. It will engulf you. Fire is not your mate. Fire will engulf you. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're going to be talking about crude oil. And joining us for this conversation, I think when we saw this story yesterday night, we were like, okay, so what's really going on? And what does this mean for our production here in the country? And I'm talking about the federal government banning the export of crude oil meant to meet the needs of domestic refineries in the country. One of the first people to respond when this story came out is the first guest we have here, the national president of PETROAN. We have Mr. Billy Gillis Harry. Thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Thank you so much, Kayla, for having me here.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Joe Nwakwe joining us via Zoom, Chairman Spell Oil and Gas, former Chair, Society of Petroleum Engineers, former SA to the Minister of State, Petroleum Resources. Thank you so much for being with us on the program as well. Okay, I think while we're trying to get that audio together so we can have a conversation with him, let me start off with Mr. Billy Gillis Harry. So you've been excited, at least that's the tone I got from your message. Said this was important because the fuel that is supposed to be used for local production is being exported. Talk to us about that scenario and what this means for you.
Well, before we delve into that, I think these fire incidents that is consistently happening is a major issue now, because I want to thank channels. When I saw the size of, adverts that Channel has put out to, advise Nigerians, ensure that you don't run into fire, you don't stay around inflammable petroleum products. It's very fantastic work you're doing, and I want to commend Channel for that. But that this continues is such a very difficult thing to understand. But we have good news. Hopefully, by tomorrow, between this hour and 6, we'll be having a major symposium on this, organized by the Major Energies Marketers Association of Nigeria. Very responsible organization that's putting together all that is required, to ensure that the Nigerians and the business people and Nigerians who rush into getting themselves hot will be educated. And we hope that that program will be very well publicized so that Nigerians can pay attention to it and save lives. So we really present our condolences to everybody who has lost lives in these infernos across the states, and we sympathize with the governors and even the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So having said that, excitement for me is a very difficult word to use. I don't know what else I'm going to use to say that the federal government is responding to what, in my opinion, will strengthen our economy. Will strengthen our economy because when you look at the way we build up foreign exchange reserves and how it gets depleted, you just wonder. And then when you go down the statistics, you find out that most of it is going for refined product imports. And it's so confusing that we do swap and then we still spend so much of our forex for that. And PETROAN, as an organization that's always looking out for how Nigeria should be better, was there to push, that every product, every crude oil that is meant for domestic consumption should be kept because it's not even enough. When the 500,000 barrels per day was reserved, we had just only few refineries that are refining in the country. Today you have a major refining machine in the world, not just in Africa, the Dangote Refinery, gulping 650,000 barrels per day. And then you now add all the other refineries. Whether they are now optimally functioning or not, you must make provisions so that we can be certain that importation of petroleum products that will be depleting our foreign exchange will be completely removed.
I want to get clarification from you. Are we still importing?
Well, to our surprise, because PETROAN is not importing.
Okay.
And we indeed told our members who have the capacity. PETROAN has members who have massive capacity to import tens of thousands of refined products of any design. But we specifically discussed with our team that please don't import PMS. It is what that grows the economy of Nigeria. And so we have Dangote producing, we have NNPC refinery producing, we have other refineries that are coming up with that. So PETROAN, by ourselves, we are not.
You're not importing.
No, we are not, and we are not encouraging our members to import.
Are there people
they can import?
Are there people that are importing?
Well, there are.
To your knowledge?
Yes, there are. In fact, recently I raised an alarm. When I saw I think about 15,000 or 20,000 metric tons of PMS being imported into Lagos. And I was very concerned that we have a very strong industry agreement, that importation should stop. So who is doing that?
Why are they importing?
Well,
is it cheaper?
Well, I really didn't. I was so pissed off that I didn't.
You didn't go into the details of it.
I was
Because that raises a lot of questions.
Trying to raise alarm to stop whoever that is doing that. But what I got feedback was that, these were products that were imported by some marketers a long time before those decisions were made.
Okay, so so that's the explanation you were giving.
Well, that's what I got, but I wasn't satisfied with it because we, as PETROAN, also had importers who had already gone into final levels of negotiation with us to bring product that we don't even have to pay $1 for.
We're gonna get back to that conversation, but I want to bring in Mr. Joe Nwakwe into the conversation. Mr. Joe, the federal government banning the export of crude oil that is meant for the needs of the domestic refineries. Is this a good thing? At least it does seem like a lot of people are happy about this. But what does that mean for me, at least, for the regular Nigerian, when it comes to the price of petrol and its availability?
Okay, thank you. I think I would like to first start by saying I don't think it's being couched the right way. There's no ban. Okay, so we need to clarify that very quickly. If you look at the regulations, the production, curtailment, and domestic crude obligation regulation of 2023, it's in section 9.1. I think it specifically talks about export controls, right? So that's what they have said.
Isn't export control a ban?
Well, it's not a ban.
Okay.
And I need to explain this.
Okay.
A ban means you cannot, it becomes illegal to export crude, right? That's not what this is. What the regime requires is that you meet your domestic obligation, and then whatever is over and above that quantity of volume can be exported. And there are, it's a detailed set of rules. So the reason I say I try to clarify this is that let's not forget there are other parties, there are counterparties, whether they are offtake funders, people who brought money to invest, and suddenly you tell them they cannot take what they paid for, which is what a ban will mean. So that narrative will not go down well with international financing partners. So we need to be very careful how we say this. Yeah, the law says there will be production curtailment and export control. So that is what I think the NUPRC is doing. They are following what the law says. But I wouldn't use the word that it's an export ban. I don't think that's the case.
Okay, well, you heard what you said, Mr. Billy.
Well, it's semantics. But
he has a point.
Yeah,
when you say there's an export ban, are you not making investors a little worried?
Well, let me differ a little bit from Joe. We just got a new president of the United States of America, and what is his focus? America first. Period. Nigerians must learn that. Are we not doing business in other countries? I had an experience where I was told to close my account in Chase Bank in America. It's their law. This is domestic value that they are pursuing. So why were we told to do so? And I was not the only Nigerian. A lot of high-end Nigerians were told to do the same thing. So we must, as a country, look out for what necessarily must grow us. So yes, I agree that the word should not be banned, because exports are not banned. But the fact is, there is restriction of what must be exported, so long as it's infringing on the domestic consumption volume. And that's, in itself, is heartwarming. because we are having a lot of refineries coming up. We are pursuing the fact that our production should meet the ceiling and beyond.
If we do 500,000 barrels per day of crude for local refining,
Yes.
If we do more than that, can't we export the rest?
We do much more than that. Right now, OPEC has given us a ceiling of 1.5.
Okay.
Recently, you heard that the objective is to go up to 2.2. And we, I'm a Niger Delta, so I really hope, that the government will do what is correct. Encourage the communities, encourage security, encourage production. And at the same time, also, reach out to other parts of Nigeria that have minerals that are being exported illegally, that is seemingly not being under control.
I mean, we saw this happen last year with cooking gas, didn't we? Same president, same narrative with cooking gas in the country. We have to meet local production and consumption.
So now we should walk our talk. I know the gentleman who is sitting on top of the Inuk is a no-nonsense man. And I believe that from what Joe has said, is walking the talk of the extant rules that are going to be guiding that. But the fact that we must tweak our decisions to favor our domestic economy to grow is what excites PETROAN. Because at the end of the day, 500,000 barrels per day is not even enough. Because today, what is estimated, and that's where I was going to, when you add the total requirement of Dangote, you add the NNPC refinery, you add Aradel, you add Edo refinery, you add all of them, we are talking about, almost 900 and something thousand barrels per day. So why don't we work out a policy that is going to favor that, and then also look at how the OPEC OPEC caps are also met. So for me, it's a very, very good decision that the federal government has done.
I want to get Joe to respond to that, and Mr. Makwe, you didn't exactly answer my question about, okay, so let's remove the word ban, since you've clarified, in your view, that is not a ban. Let's take it out of the picture. Now, let's talk a little bit about what it means for local production. And like I said earlier, when it comes to cost and availability, is this the solution? Is this the way to bring down this very expensive fuel that we're buying?
Okay, well, is it a good thing? I'll start by saying that ideally, right, we are not supposed to have this obligation. So let's be very clear that if we have done everything right, there is really no need in a free market to force anybody to sell his product to a specific buyer or set of buyers. So let's get that through the door. Now we are here. So is it a good thing that NPRC is simply following the law? The law specifies, the PIA clearly in section 109 has created a regime for domestic supply obligation for crude. We have had this for gas for many years, I think since 2008. So for crude, we only did it for crude under the PIA. So and it's a very difficult thing to implement. You must give it to the regulators. It never quite worked well for gas. Now we are doing it for crude, and they've backed up this. So beyond the PIA provisions, they've written a regulation and a guideline as well to help implement. So that tells you how difficult this really is. And like I said, the regulation in section 9.2 clearly specifies that where there's need, where a company has an obligation and it hasn't met it, so they actually have the right to refuse to approve the export permit.
Okay.
So that's what NUPRC has come out to say, that we will do that henceforth, and that's in order. So overall, it's not a good thing that we're in this regime. I must tell you this, because what it does is it creates challenges. Remember, we are all out trying to attract investments into the sector.
Yes.
Now, the bulk of that money is not domestic, it's not here. So when you go out and tell people that you have a regime that restricts what they can, who they can sell to, or whether, so basically there are a bunch of trading houses out there who invest and take crude as offtake. So basically they are going to be worried, right? Why will I invest if by your law I cannot take that crude away? It has to find home in a local refinery. So, and that's why I say that, yeah, as a stopgap measure, we can live with this. It's not a perfect situation, but going, I think, as the market develops, hopefully we'll get to a point where we will have enough volumes to go around.
Yeah.
So there will be no need to force anyone to sell to any specific person. So imagine, for example, if we ramp up to 2.5 million barrels of oil per day.
Yes.
I think at that point there will be sufficient enough volumes to go around.
All right.
That's one.
I do have
Two.
yes.
Okay. No, go ahead.
No, I was. Let me let you land on your point then. Yes, two.
Yeah. So the other thing I was going to say is that equally have to be careful. Remember that most of those volumes have been committed via loans. So we took as a nation, right, especially the NNPC equity volumes, right? They had taken loans against those volumes.
Okay.
So when you force them to sell those volumes to you're in violation of contractual obligations, and that's going to have implications. So we really need to be careful how we manage it, and I hope that the regulator will engage those producers and work out a win-win situation for everybody. I think it's very important.
My colleague in Lagos, Ayo, has a few questions for both of you. Ayo.
You, Mr. Wakwe, I'm looking at part of what you said, you know, when you talk about the fact that it's to meet local, the needs of local refiners. And from information available also, we'll find out that according to Newprick, Dagote, Port Harcourt, Warri, and other refineries need about 770,500 barrels per day. However, we are talking about a cap on 500,000 barrels per day. Even at 500,000 barrels per day, Mr. Wakwe, is still insufficient. So we still have to import. Mr. Wakwe, the question is for you.
Okay, all right. So yes, where we are today, we don't even have 500 as free, unencumbered. So I think we need to situate this conversation around capacity. Do we have enough capacity? Even if the law says, yes, you have to dedicate these volumes to the domestic refiners. Do you have that volume? Those are the big questions, right? My calculation is that we don't. And so this is a call to action, right? We need to ramp up output. We need to invest massively in the upstream. There's nothing wrong in targeting 2.5 to 3 million barrels of oil per day. That would be enough. You know, the law was put in place for a reason. It will really be sad that somebody invests in local refinery and he does not have feedstock, right? So I don't want to get into the other issues around whether things have been done right or not. We are here today. We need to move forward. So my sense is we need to ramp up output. That way we can not just service the local refineries, we can meet our obligations. We have, whether it's offtake obligations or loan repayment obligations that need to be addressed. We will not do that if we shut out those guys. No, but that basically will just mean that you will not be able to attract the funding that you need to build the volumes. So we need to be that's why I say I think the regulator is taking the right steps, and these are very difficult and tricky decisions to take, and I think they're working it. But I wouldn't use the word ban. I had to make sure that.
That's understandable, because I mean, if the ban, the statement says ban on crude oil meant for local refineries, so we probably can still use the word ban, not outright ban on all exportation altogether. But you have advised Minister of Petroleum, Minister of State for Petroleum before. Now, I've looked at the list of refineries that are already in operation and those that are still coming up. I'm looking at their capacities, and I did the numbers. It's more than 1 million barrels per day that will be required if and when all those refineries come on stream. As at today, and going by the numbers that the federal government has released, the aspiration is that the allocation consists of about 30, is looking at a forecasted first half 2025 average daily production of 2.06 million barrels per day for this year. If and when all refineries are up and running in Nigeria 100%, do you think it's advisable to supply all of them more than 1 million barrels per day? Because it's always good to look forward sometimes. Would you advise it? Or you think we should still keep it in a situation where they can still import some crude?
So we need to be very, so feedstock is a technical issue. It's not as simple. It's not like water. Water has basic properties. You take water from there, you give. Every refinery is designed for specific feedstock, right? I'll give you an instance. If Kaduna were to be running, it won't take the same feedstock that Dangote will take, right? It needs heavy crude. So do you have enough heavy crude production to give to Kaduna? So the point I am making here is we can't possibly have this kind of conversation without looking at those refineries. What is the feedstock specification that they need? Are we producing enough of those? And my answer will be yes. If all the refineries have feedstock requirements that we can meet, why not? That would be the right. But there are like the Kaduna refinery, for instance. We used to bring in Venezuelan heavy oil for that, and that was by design, right? So that's the kind of thing. But I think we just need to ramp up volumes. Once we have volumes, it doesn't matter whether you import or not. The question is, are you producing enough so that we don't have this accretion in our forex, in our reserves?
I think this perspective is quite instructive and informative for a number of Nigerians, because the disappointment is always, how can we be a crude oil producing country and still be importing crude? So you're saying that there are some refineries that are built specifically for certain crude oil that Nigeria does not produce?
That we may not be producing. So basically I'm saying this, that the feedstock requirements vary from refinery to refinery, and that will determine whether or not they can import or they can source locally. The sourcing of feedstock is a basic thing that anybody building a refinery should handle. So I'm a bit concerned that we are elevating this to a national debate. It's a technical matter.
Mr. Wakwe, to you it's technical, to Nigerians all we know is that we are producing crude and we should not be importing crude. I don't know if it's too simplistic for you, Mr. Gillis Harry. This position that the angle at which I'm looking at this, because Nigeria produces crude, full stop. So we should not be importing crude. That's the perspective of some people. But we are now being educated, I don't know if you agree, that there are certain refineries that have to use certain crude oil feedstock that we do not produce. How helpful is that for you?
That is only for the Kaduna refinery. And that has been ongoing for a long time. That's why most of the crude required for Kaduna refinery are always brought in by importation and passed through Delta State. So it's not applicable to all the other refineries. So Kaduna's issue is, and of course you know that Kaduna produces quite specific type of petroleum product that's refined from there. But other than that, I am happy for the explanation that the ban that NUPRC has talked about is strictly for the domestic consumption. And I really support the action of Mr. Komolafe for that action, for that decision to implement that part of the law that the PIA gives authorization, and even the domestic supply obligation rules, clearly states. Now, the point that is more needful to Nigerians, just like you said, and it is not simplistic. If you have a borehole in your house, you invested money to drill a borehole. So why are you going to be buying bottled water every day? It's as simple and straightforward as that. Yes, crude oil is not the same as water, but they are all drilled from the subsurface. So there will be nothing wrong with Nigerians expecting the best for them. And for us, who are there, I believe that this discourse is very needful for Nigerians to be educated more. So as to whether it has become a national discourse or not, I think, me personally, I would encourage that it should continuously be a subject matter in the public domain to educate Nigerians, so that they also don't over-expect and put pressure on the system when the system should be thinking much more about how to relax and take care of the technical issues.
Okay.
But having said that, it's still very critical for me to support Joe's position that we should ramp up production. When that ramping up is made, certainly we're going to be going above OPEC's production cap. So those are domestic things, and that's why we advise that we should have, a thinking out of the box, strictly for Nigeria. And like I said earlier, let us make Nigeria first in everything that we're doing. And we have clearly seen that PMS mostly is an energy that's required to grow our economy, from just simple things as grinding pepper to even running office systems, and even whole homes and houses. So it's very important that we take notice of that. And with this refining capacity being installed, we should also now be thinking about exporting refined product, which, in my opinion, will quite ramp up even our foreign reserves and give the Nigerian naira much more stronger, showing in the market.
Mr. Gillis-Harris, I'm going to stay with you for a bit longer, and talk about the first comment you made, particularly about curbing petrol tanker fires and the losses we incur. Yes, we have talked about the incidents. Yes, we have also talked about the loss of lives. But I'm looking at some numbers now, Mr. Gillis-Harris, and I date back as far back as 2007 to date. We have something in the region of 900 deaths, according to media reports. And those are the ones that we know, as opposed to the scores that are unnamed. But that's one. The one other aspect of this conversation that grieves my heart is the fact that there are losses of infrastructure. Because on the average, correct me if I'm wrong, how much is a tanker right now of a tanker truck? How much is one now? Something in the region of 80, 90 million? How much is the fuel itself that is lost at 800 to 900 naira per liter in the country? How much is lost to the roads where these fires are burnt? How much we lose to the environment? There are so many ancillary losses when these petrol tanker occurrences occur. So, have we factored in those? And how do we eradicate it, if possible?
It's a very somber reflection. It's what I hear, these numbers rolled out. It's running tears out of my eyes, because these are Nigerians, our brothers, our sisters, who possibly will become leaders in this country, that will even bring the change that we desire. So again, I will sympathize with the families and condole with everyone that is grieving out of this, very grave losses. However, damages have been done. For every tanker that explodes, minimum financial damage will be in the neighborhood of 150 million naira if it's a 45,000 liters tank. And even if it's a 33,000 liters tank, it's still in that neighborhood. But what is money when you compare it to just one life? And then we're talking about tens and tens of lives that are lost in these infernos, mostly out of ignorance or out of trying to eke out a living and thinking that scooping petrol, they could sell it and make money, whatever. So I think that the solution lies with effective regulation in our health, security, and environmental departments across board. I believe that NMDPROA, that is Saudi responsibility to ensure, that there is compliance, will do much more than is being done today. And like I said, when difficulties come, I think it is not so much for us to cry and really lament. We should rather go to the factory, to the engine room of our brains, and tinker out solutions. And that's why I'm always so much in love with our organizations, especially the leaders, Meman and Dapman, always running to the rescue because they have consistently worked out solutions, taking along all of the organizations, including PETROAN, to be able to think out solutions in all of these things. And I believe that the efforts that they are making tomorrow will start a whole new idea and regime in how these fires will be mitigated, how the regulations should be, put in place to make sure that tankers, the tanker drivers, the owners of the tankers are all held accountable for any mishap that happens. But besides that, we also have to look at the horrid way in which our petroleum products are loaded in our depots, and which is why we have consistently advocated that our rail lines should be designed in such a way that they go straight into the depots to take products from there by rail. Obviously, if petroleum products are going by rail, they will not meet vehicles that are overheated, or there is some kind of inflammatory object that's around that's going to ignite these fires.
Okay. Well,
So,
just
I believe that tomorrow there'll be a lot of solutions to solve all this problem.
All right. Let me also ask Mr. Wakwe the same question, looking at it more now from, perhaps an advisory level as an industry person. You have been in the oil and gas system for long enough to know. You have chaired the Society of Petroleum Engineers, and I'm pretty sure that these issues are not new to you. There are things that have been happening for a while. But what's instructive, in this year alone, we have had 3 such incidents in the month of January. The 4th one happened yesterday. Thankfully, no loss of life has been reported from what happened yesterday. What could we be missing? As I said, I looked at data from as far back as 2007, and these things have happened on and on and on and on over the years. What could we be missing?
Well, I'm not sure I would use the word missing. I think the infrastructure is the big, and Dr. Harry talked about regulation. But I think basically we do not have the right infrastructure for moving products. Let's start from there. And so we are trucking from Lagos to Kano by road, and drivers get fatigued, vehicles are old. So the regulatory environment is you put regulation on top of what is available. The infrastructure, I think, is the problem. So we need to invest. We need to move products by other means. We need to move heavy stuff by rail, for instance. That is something that I think will help address most of these challenges. The regulation is important, and but it is what it is. Like I say, I think we need to enhance regulation, but we need to more than anything else, we need to invest in the infrastructure to move these products across the entire country. Nigeria is a fairly large area, and depending on just trucking for moving products, I think it's what we are missing. If I may use
I mean,
that.
Mr. Mwakwe, it's a very important point that you just made. In fact, I'm looking at the messages that we're getting on social media here, and that's the major thing everyone is saying. What are these trucks doing on the road? I'm going to come to you, Mr. Gillis. Is this the only way, Mr. Gillis, Harry?
Well,
moving petrol, only your car. Normally, just your car. Try driving from Lagos to Abuja. Your car will overheat by Kogi. At some point, you would have to rest that car. Unless, of course, you're a multi-millionaire that's using a very big car. But if you're using a regular Camry, by the time you get, your car will get hot. You need to rest it. Talk of a trailer that is carrying petrol. Is this the only way that we have right now?
Well, let me bring to the fore the effect of what NUPENG and PTD are doing. They are doing quite a lot to try to, form some kind of control and regulatory values. But ultimately, the regulators, that is NMDPRA, will be advised to ramp up quite a lot of compliance values. Now, right now, that's the only way we're moving. You take products by marine from Lagos to Port Harcourt, or from the high sea to Lagos or whatever, and then once it gets into the depot, the only other means of bringing those products to our retail facilities is only by truck. So, if those trucks could be, regulated in a way that the safety measures are taken, the drivers are given effective training, and there is also, the need to always check the health of the drivers. Because it's very important. When somebody drives for so long, there's a psychological, instability, physical stress, and different.
Especially on the roads that they're driving.
And
These types of
and the roads themselves need to be fixed. Recently we had a meeting with the Honorable Minister of Works, and he assured us of some of the things that is going to be done, because our advocacy value is all round, not just only for what our retail outlets will know, because before the products get to our retail outlet, there's the issue of transportation and logistics. But we still will encourage the government to really look at a fast alternative. The fast alternative will be to put our infrastructure straight into the depots themselves.
Depots themselves.
Yes. So that way we can be able to get as much answers as possible.
Mr. Mwakwe, I'm going to go back to our conversation really about, it's a ban, sir, according to NUPRC. It's a ban, okay? And Mr. Komolafe is giving threats. Let me read his threat out for you. So the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Mr. Benga Komolafe, is saying that the Commission will not pander to the wishes of either the oil producers or crude refineries in implementation of the domestic crude supply obligations. And then he's saying basically that they're going to be taking licenses away from people who do not adhere to these rules. He said if you're busy selling when we have issues with our local, we're going to seize your licenses. That is an effective ban. And for many Nigerians who are saying this, it was met with, this is a good thing for the industry. It looks like it's going to ramp up our production here. Things are going to be better for us. What could possibly be wrong with that? Apart from all the things that you mentioned.
Well, I don't know how far you want to go with that. I certainly, I'm just, telling you what I think. I won't use that word. I'm serious, and I think it's something we need to. So the law is the law, right? And the law has specified. So what they are doing is within what the law in the regulation section 9, 1 of the regulation says that they can do that, right? Is that a ban? I wouldn't say that. But having said that, let me address something else. I think we need to think deeply about some of these issues, right? The crude we are talking about belongs to somebody. I make this point so that we appreciate that the right to private property has not changed, right? There's no free crude anywhere. Yeah, Nigeria produces, but it belongs to someone. And so there's a limit to how much power, the state can wield on private property. So let's get that. So whether it's NNPC is someone. So that's why we have to enter contracts. So my take on this is that in national interest, certain things can be done, but like I said, let's follow the rules, and I think they are following the rules.
For now, Mr. I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Gillis-Harry, as we wrap up this conversation. Supply local refineries or lose your export permits. You're excited about this?
Extremely excited that, first of all, I know the man who is, supervising this operation is a no-nonsense man. He's been in all the spheres of the industry, and I think saddled with this responsibility now, he knows much more that if these refineries in Nigeria are working efficiently and effectively and producing optimally, that is going to impact on our economy very, very positively. So it's a very good thing that this ban, is effectively
Will it reduce the price of petrol?
The reality is
if everyone stops exporting and starts to supply.
No, but you can see what's happening today. When the production values favor the industry, you see prices just come down by itself. Okay. Dangote has reduced prices. And I was asked on another, are we going to implement it in the retail outlet? No, we are not going to do that immediately. But any product that we started loading from Sunday or Monday that goes to our retail outlets will, of course, reflect that pricing that is there. So, and also don't forget that there is also the arrangement going on with PETROAN, MRS, and Dangote to make sure that we sell product at a uniform price across the country, which is a very great thing that's coming. So, petroleum product pricing, I always say, if we work for availability and ensure that energy security is guaranteed, prices will normally come down to affordability. But we must realize that it's a deregulated economy, and the prices will go up, it will come down, it will go up, it will come down, depending on the economic, environmental factors. So we have a good expectation of how this will play out to help Nigerians.
Thank you so much, Mr. Billy Gillis-Harry, for being with us on the program, National President of PETROAN. Thanks for all of your insights this morning.
Thank you so much.
And of course, Mr. Joe Nwakwe, Chairman of SPEL, Oil and Gas, former Chair, Society of Petroleum Engineers, former SA to the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, join us via Zoom there. Thank you very much for your insights as well.
Thank you.
It's a very interesting few days and weeks that we have ahead of us in this country, but we'll be keeping tabs on them and give you those details. But for now, it's time for Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. We'll be back afterwards with more conversation. Stay with us.